One of the most frequently asked questions to the EFCC is, what does the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission do with recovered forfeited assets? The question is not far-fetched, considering that Nigerians whose commonwealth have been stolen ever since independence by a corrupt few have been rendered hopeless by high level of poverty, such that their country is the global capital of that ignoble phenomenon. Well, today on The Eagle, we shall be discussing with the Director, Proceeds of Crime Management of the EFCC, Aliyu Yusuf, on what the Commission does with recovered assets. Welcome to another episode of The Eagle. My name is Aisha Muhammad.
I am Abdurrashid Bawa. I stand against corruption. I call on every patriotic Nigerian to lend their voices in this crusade. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. Together we will make Nigeria great.
The commandant of the EFCC Academy, Ayo Oloni, has disclosed that the Commission has commenced the process of training cyber convicts to make use of the computer and the internet to earn legitimate income. Oloni made this disclosure at the two-day workshop on investigation and enforcement skills for effective regulatory role for senior personnel of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. He said the measure was aimed at curbing the upsurge in cybercrime despite the efforts being made by the federal government of Nigeria towards combating economic and financial crimes. Abbas Abubakar Umar tells us more on this and another report from the Ilorin Zonal Command of the EFCC.
The commandant of the EFCC Academy, Ayo Olowoniyi, stated that the problem of cybercrime being dealt with is so huge that parents now take their kids out of formal school to enroll them into internet fraud training centers, popularly known as Yahoo Yahoo School. Director General National Broadcasting Commission NBC Balarabe Shehu Ilela, in his remark, thanked the executive chairman of the EFCC Abdurrashid Bawa for the support being enjoyed by the NBC from the commission. The participants were trained in various aspects of investigation, cybercrime laws, public relations and fake news detection, emotional intelligence, alternative dispute resolution, NBC Act and case studies. The Area Controller, Nigeria Customs Service, NCS Kwara Command, Kende Ilesami, has hinted of plans to forge a united stand with the Ilorin Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in tackling corruption and the rising tide of smuggling in the area. He disclosed this during a courtesy visit to the Ilorin Zonal Commander of the EFCC, Michael Nzekwe, in Ilorin. Lesami, who assumed duty as the Customs Area Controller in January 2023, disclosed that over 3.5 billion naira had been collected as revenue for the government by his men, while also making 23 seizures valued at more than 30 million naira. According to him, the visit was basically to strengthen the existing ties between his agency and EFCC. The customs boss praised the efforts of the Ilorin Zonal Command of the EFCC, especially its bold step in checking the activities of illegal miners in the state, as well as combating the incidents of cybercrime among the youths. Responding, Nzekwe expressed appreciation to Lesami and his entourage for the visit. He stated that the EFCC is delighted to have a worthy partner like Nigeria Customs Service to cooperate with the Commission in the fight against economic and financial crimes, as together Nigeria will be better. Like the Customs Area Controller, Nzekwe recalled some of his landmark achievements within the last 1 year of his deployment to Ilorin Zonal Command of the EFCC, pointing out that illegal mining activities and non-payment of royalties by unlicensed operators had greatly been checked. Here is a special announcement from the Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering, SCOMO.
My advice to the NPPs is to register with SCOMO. Registration with SCOMO is free. We are here for you, and you can reach us on our hotlines, on our email, helpdesk@scomo.efcc.gov.ng. Register with SCOMO to avoid sanctions.
For more information, complaints and suggestions, call the following numbers on your screen.
SCOMO, securing Nigeria's business environment. This message is from Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
The Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering SCOMO of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC has called on non-profit organizations NPOs in the Northeast to join hands with it in fighting financing of terrorism and money laundering in the region. Director SCOMO Daniel Issei gave the charge at a 2-day workshop for NPOs in the Northeast with the theme Collaborating to Fight Financing Terrorism, which was held at Pinnacle Hotel, Maiduguri. Again, Abbas Abubakar Omar is our guide.
Addressing the participants on the report of the risk assessment of the non-profit organization sector in Nigeria, Isai said the document is the outcome of engagements with relevant stakeholders and provides a sort of roadmap on how NPOs can insulate themselves from the vulnerabilities in the sector. He stated that the Commission is aware that some NPOs are at a higher risk than others because each and every NPO's area of operation is not the same. Therefore, the report is to be taken in, digested, and see the findings and how they affect each and everyone. Emphasizing the critical role of NPOs in the fight against terror financing, Isai charged them to ensure their businesses are not used as conduit for terrorism financing. The director SCOMO also urged the participant not to consider a visit by SCOMO as suggestive of discovery of any wrongdoing, adding that the agency has a statutory mandate to monitor the organizations. He warned that errant NPOs will face requisite sanctions. The Maiduguri Zonal Commander of the EFCC, Oshodi Johnson, who was accompanied by his deputy Okechukwu Obiageli Ethelinda, stated that NPOs were critical in curbing the menace of terrorist financing. He urged the organizations to be wholly committed to their humanitarian work and resist every temptation to be involved in activities that are against the laws of the land. On his path, the Executive Secretary of Borno State Agency for Coordination of Sustainable Development and Humanitarian Response, Bunu Mungunu, expressed confidence that the risk assessment report will help NPOs to deliver on their mandate. Abbas Abubakar Umar reporting for the Eagle.
Coming up is Conviction Update with Golden Onwara.
For the week of April 17th to April 20th, 2023, the EFCC recorded 17 convictions. A breakdown has Abuja and Kaduna Zonal Commands as the highest, with 4 convictions each, followed by Lagos, Ibadan and Ilori Commands, each securing 2 convictions, while Maiduguri, Port Harcourt and Benin Commands got 1 conviction each. This brings the total convictions for the week under review to 17.
Just imagine the amount of comfort and peace stolen funds from our country would have brought to Nigerians had they not been pilfered into private accounts of corrupt individuals. Imagine the number of hospitals, roads, schools, bridges and other public infrastructures such monies would have been used to construct. Well, our interview segment will be answering the most frequently asked questions to the EFCC, which is, what does the Commission do with recovered and forfeited assets? Ojechokutami Eche is our guide on this. Over to you, Ojechokutami.
Thank you so much for joining us on this segment of the program. This is the interview segment, and my name is Ojo Chukutami Eche. Today we're talking what happens to forfeited properties. So many questions that people have been asking, and we are here to answer them. And I can tell you confidently that we have the Director, Department of Proceeds of Crime Management, EFCC Headquarters, Commander of the EFCC, Aliu Yusuf, answering our questions. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now I would like us to begin from, a definition of asset forfeiture. What exactly does this term, asset forfeiture, mean?
Asset forfeiture is the legal process that the state utilizes in confiscating assets suspected to be process of crime. In the course of investigation, for instance, assets are traced, assets that are suspected to have been derived from process of criminal, activity. And the first step to be taken is to seize such assets. So forfeiture comes after seizure. So immediately you seize the assets, what the law provides is that you should approach the court for interim forfeiture of the assets, either pending conclusion of the investigation you are conducting or pending the charge that you may have filed against the culprit in court. So that is basically what asset forfeiture means. You can find these procedures for forfeiting assets in some of our laws, like the EFCC Act, the Money Laundering Act, the Process of Crime Management Act, and then even the criminal procedure laws, of states, or administrative criminal justice laws of various states. So you'll find provisions relating to asset forfeiture.
We would like to know what exactly happens. Why asset forfeiture in the fight against economic and financial crimes or corruption generally? Why is there that punishment called forfeiture of properties in the first place?
Yes, asset forfeiture is very, very important. That is why you see, for instance, in the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, you see, articles 52 to 57 or thereabout talks about asset forfeiture because it's an important tool in fighting corruption. After all, what is the motive for all these corrupt tendencies? Is the reward, is the reward to be derived from, the corruption itself. So asset forfeiture is a tool. That is why one of the pillars of fight against corruption as provided in NONCAC is asset forfeiture, apart from the enforcement, provision and prevention. So it's very, very important. It's also important because what is the use of, prosecuting somebody who has defrauded another person without recovering the asset for the purpose of restituting the victim. So it's important for restitution of the victim. If these assets are recovered, it's used as restitution. And then again, asset forfeiture has also become very important because it's now, classified as a budget resource because some of the forfeited assets, when disposed, are partly used in funding critical government projects. So it's very important in the fight against corruption.
Now to the crux of the matter, CE Aliu Yusuf, what now happens to forfeited properties?
Yes, what happens to them depends on the victims of the crime, for which those assets are forfeited, and the pronouncement of court concerning those assets, and of course maybe provisions of law as to what is to be done with assets that have been forfeited. So let me start with the victim. The EFCC investigates cases on behalf of individuals. We receive petitions from individuals. We receive petitions from government agencies, corporate entities. So when such cases are charged to court and assets are traced as process of crime committed against these individuals, usually the court will pronounce that the recovered assets should be used as restitution, to those individuals. Similarly, if it's a state government that petition and we recover assets, usually court will order that such assets should be returned back to, to the state, and if it is federal. But when it comes to federal, the law provides that once asset is forfeited to federal government, the commission should take steps to dispose the assets, and then the proceeds will be paid into confiscated and forfeited properties account, which is an account that has been provided in the new Process of Crime Management Act. So once assets are forfeited in favor of federal government, be it real estate, be it automobile, vessels, or whatever, the law requires that such assets should be disposed and proceeds of the sales should be paid into confiscated and forfeited properties account. That is basically what happens to forfeited assets.
I would like to take you back on the auction of December 2022 when EFCC auctioned some of the forfeited properties in its environment. What exactly did the EFCC do differently that time?
First of all, the EFCC, what we did was basically to ensure that we comply with all relevant provisions dealing with disposal of government assets. The provisions of the Public Procurement Act, the EFCC Act, and of course the new Process of Crimes Management Act. Like as you rightly mentioned, in December 2022, we commenced the process of disposal, starting with disposal of automobile, which numbers about 641 or thereabouts across our zonal offices. What we did was to, first of all, in line with the provisions of the law, to ensure that those assets are valued. Then after valuation, we, of course, following the provision of the Public Procurement Act, we engaged the auctioneers to carry out, the auction exercise. It was a public auction. And we also ensured that the people from whom these assets were seized from, are prevented from, coming to buy, these same assets again. And in doing this, staffs and family members of the commission were also prevented from, participating in the disposal exercise. And of course, it was a public auction, widely, reported in the newspaper, and it was a success story. And later that month, or early this year in January, we also carried out disposal of properties, real estates, in various locations also. The procedure we adopted was also similar to, the ones that we adopted for, the disposal of automobile. The assets were valued by both independent valuers and the Ministry of Works valuers, to get the reserve price and determine price, And of course, it was subject of, public auction. And this time around, the auction was by seal bids, whereby prospective bidders, submit their bids, in sealed, envelope. And of course, the bid opening was conducted publicly at the convocation arena of the Open University, and it was open to members of the public. So all this we did is, to ensure that there is transparency in the whole exercise.
I've gone online, our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and other platforms through which people communicate with the EFCC, and they're asking a lot of questions. One of them is this: when next will the auction happen again? How frequent do you think EFCC will be, disposing these forfeited properties so people can have access to them?
Well, EFCC, we are in court on daily basis, and then forfeitures are granted, by courts, So the your question as to what next, when next the EFCC will conduct auction, will depend on how frequent we get these forfeiture orders, from court. But the plan is that the auction is going to be a case-by-case basis. In other words, as soon as forfeiture order is obtained from court, then the disposal exercise will, simultaneously, take place. It's going to be case-by-case basis. As soon as we get forfeiture orders, we commence disposal exercise almost immediately.
Well, we've come to the end of this segment of the program, CE Ali Yusuf, and I would like you to give us your word of advice, especially as it relates to, asset forfeiture, economic and financial crimes, and all that.
Yes, my advice to the public is that, they should, especially those who are thinking of going into, these crimes, either corruption or whatever, because like I mentioned earlier, the motivation for these crimes is the reward, which is this asset. But what is the use of going into this crime? You acquire this asset and the EFCC will eventually come to seize it. Because wherever you acquire the asset and wherever the asset is, EFCC will trace it and confiscate it. So what is the gain? So my advice is that those who are planning to go into this venture should, think twice and repent. Let me put it that way.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming on the program today. We believe that when next we call on you, you'll be here again. The program continues shortly. Stay with us.
Zon kamemi. Ado kala okusu ado ya klika mi. Nyo me ma gba ya bo mi egbiri mi. Tene egbiri mi gba ya bo e. Ezon be ma tukpa po fa. Bobi ni po fa. Kro wo po fa egbiri ke gba ya bo emi. Ane owe be di mi no tubo. Okpo fu mi egbiri ke do ni. Ane ai emi o ma gba ya bo emi egbiri mo. O keme se gbeli de sa o me so pa mo. Ane aba ezon ebe mi ebie po pre. Ane apele egbiri fa o. Ya eme tiemi ebe okpobo omuko kere yi.
And that's all we can take on today's episode of The Eagle. You can send an email to info@efcc.gov.ng and speak to our officers on 0809 3322644 and follow us on all our social media platforms at official EFCC for all matters relating to economic and financial crimes. Use the EFCC mobile app, The Eagle Eye, to report any fraud you see happening around you. You download the app, you follow the steps and report fraud on the go. And you can also take pictures of corrupt practices and upload them. I am Aisha Muhammad, leaving you with this parting words that says, have the courage to say no. Have the courage to face the truth. Do the right thing because it is right. These are the magic keys to living your life with integrity. Stand for integrity and do the right thing always. Goodbye. God bless Nigeria. Please do stay safe, be kind to yourself and to others around you, and do enjoy the rest of the week.